September's behind us, folks. We're into October. Some of these elements of discovery, some of these feature sets and those where we're drawing those lines around are at dates that start in September and end in October. So those were moved over. As you can see, some of these are coming down into here, which means we're going to get them into development. Parts of those go into development in the next three sprints in October. Some of those end up sliding over because we won't be able to get all those done in one sprint. These requirement sets right over here are still in review. They're close. Some of these are close. And they will be also sliding over here. So just to remind everybody, our process is we do a lot of discovery and research with the subject matter experts. We usually bring, when we get closer to having some requirements nailed down, closer could be maybe some screenshots, maybe it's a full requirements document. We bring that over to the local group to get feedback on. We've been doing that pretty consistently. And then we finish that up with getting the requirements document tight and approved by 5-6 people from the state. And then after that approval is done on that requirements document, then we're able to build out stories. Stories are what go into the developer's hands. We are finishing up sprint 41 right now of our 2-week sprints. We'll start 42 tomorrow. So you see some stuff in 42, 41. That's what that's about. This referral system will continue to go on for some time. It's also got 42 items in it. And it'll, at 41, it'll go to 42, but some of these other ones will go on too. So you'll see them sliding over too. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, some of the bigger things. So some of the things we can think about, we're going to see, and then we're going to see in UAT soon. On the training plan side, ETPL and all that, that is very close to being done. Okay, so you've seen it 1 or 2 times. You'll probably get to see one more time in UAT just as a follow-up before we get down to the final UAT next year. So we'll probably shelf that after maybe one more UAT cycle. Okay. Some new things you'll see. We got intake for customers. You'll see all kinds of customer pre-screening, the customer workflow, eligibility certification. You're going to start seeing that. Some of the things we're going to work on is we are doing some redesign with our workNet homepage, and there's going to be 3 or 4 different directions there: employer page, job seeker page, welcome page training. You see those in that beige. We'll be knocking those out for design and requirements in October. We're laying the groundwork right now for reporting capabilities, and so those state and local reports and all that will continue onward probably till the end. So we'll just keep picking up more reports and more reports. You'll also see those in UAT when they come around. Now, obviously, we can't get reports on data we don't have yet, but we'll be working on those things that we can get reports on. We don't want to leave those to the end. You'll see other stuff in here. Assessments, that's being worked on. That probably will go over in here, looks like. And then we'll start jumping into interfaces in November. But that's where we're at. So just want to give you kind of a big picture here and understanding. We're still working with, we're going to have another session, I believe, of UAT for referral soon. And Kelly's working on that right now. So that's kind of where we're at in kind of big picture, high level feature set areas and how they're moving through the process of discovery, development, and UAT. So, okay, today I'm going to talk to you about, that's not the one I want. Hold on a minute. I need this one here. Okay. Can you see a flow chart? Hopefully. Okay. All right. Um, like Mark had mentioned, some of the people on this may not want to be on it, and that's okay if you walk out, but just remember that we are working on the reapplication process for continuing approval of training plans, um, and how that's going to work in the new system. Um, and so if you uh, know or have a relationship with your ETPL coordinator in your local area, please tell them that we're working on this and we're going to reach out to them to try to get a meeting set up with those folks so they can kind of validate this also. Okay. All right. So, um, all right. So what we're doing in here is in this first part here, that's why it's at the start of this process. Now, this is the reapplication process. Okay. So the concept here is I'm a provider. I have one or more programs that are within 90 days of the expiration of the active program. So within that 90-day period, right, we need to get uh, any changes done that are necessary to those programs, performance for those programs, that's a new area, saved to those programs, and then submitted or resubmitted, whatever you want to say, to through the approval process. Now, that approval process is not a whole lot different than the initial. There's a few areas, but it's still using that same workflow pretty much um, that we used and we showed you in the initial side too. Okay. So what's going to happen in this one is, and we're going to give notifications out um, to the contacts that are set to receive notifications at the provider level. Okay, let's talk about the provider level. So provider, just like kind of today, there are provider contacts today that have ETPL training program access. Okay. Some, maybe most, or maybe some LWIAs do this. Some LWIAs do not do that. Some LWIAs do manage those training program um, user screens and all that kind of stuff. They manage them themselves. Okay. In the new world, they're going to get those that have been set to receive notifications will get an email. And we're kind of honing in for those providers that once a plan, at least one plan, gets in the status of 90 days before it is ready for expiration, so to speak, then they'll get this email. An email in that email, they'll get once a week, they'll get an email and it'll list the programs that they have that are within 90 days of end dates, and that will change obviously on a weekly basis based upon how many of those they worked off, so to speak. Okay, so we don't want to do it as they come up. It's too many emails. We don't want to do it really only on a 30-day interval because it may not be soon enough. So on a weekly interval, we're going to give the provider, not you, the provider, um, notification that says, hey, these particular plans are coming up for needing renewal. Okay, we'll get that language and all that figured out, but that's what that's going to do. Okay. All right. In that email, it'll also give them the ability to route them back to the system. If they're not logged in at the time, they'll get a chance to log in and it'll take them to that list of programs. Okay. Now remember, they'll have access to their provider record, and on that provider record, they'll have access to um, their programs. In fact, I'll actually just bounce in there and show you that. So they'll get routed. I'll show you where. let me go here. They will get routed. They won't get routed to this list because they don't have access to that. They will get routed to, so say it was the provider was this Covenant Healthcare Institute, say that is such a thing, and it was a provider, they will get routed to their active program list. Okay. We're adding, well, we already did add end date to this. So it will show them all their programs that are active. And when they click into one of these programs, if it's within the 90 days and it hasn't been set to be resubmitted yet, then it will have a reapply button on the top of it. Okay, so um, at the top of that, uh, up in here, it'll have a reapply button. Okay, um, so what'll happen? Okay, so then the provider will work through and look at the program, maybe do some updates. Obviously, we want them to add performance. Okay, and they will, so when they start that process, what we do is just behind the scenes is we copy that program. We leave the active one obviously inactive. There's a lot of associations could be with that active one out there with participants. So we copy that program, and that new program is put into a not submitted status, reapplication not submitted status. And that once that's been done, that actually shows up on their pendings. Okay, so in that situation, you would have, say, this basic nurse assistant was one of them. It would show up here as active with dates, and it would show up here as not submitted. Okay, let me close that because I keep going back to it. Okay, then they work on that, update it, do whatever they need to do, and eventually they will submit that, and they'll get an email that it's submitted, and the appropriate LWIA coordinator, LWIB coordinator will also get an email. And that email for the coordinator will come on a weekly basis. It says these programs have been submitted and ready for review. Now, if, of course, the same logic again, if it is in state and it's in their area, it's just associated in this situation, if it's on a reapply, it's already associated to their LWIA, that provider, then they're going to get that in their inbox, so to speak, ready for review. Okay. All right. Then number 6, that's what I just discussed. If it was in state, they're going to get it, and we're going to go down to 7. Then the LWIA does a review. Now, the LWIA, what we think right now is 30 days. That's some of the stuff Mark's talking about, but they would have 30 days to get that reviewed before and give their recommendation before it would go on to state review. Okay, remember the LWIB coordinator, ETPL coordinator is going to review those, and they're going to mark those for either recommended for approval, or they're going to mark those for not recommended approval. And if they do that, they're going to select reason codes. Okay. Now, while it's in review process, okay, they could ask, or they could see something on it to say, wow, if this was fixed or changed, we could probably get this approved. See something wrong, they can route that back, reviewed with request for clarification. And that gets back ready and for the provider user to fix what that clarification is. Okay. At that point, they get an email, of course, to send out to the provider that says, hey, we need a clarification XYZ. Okay. If it does not need any kind of clarification, or if that's already done, then they're going to recommend to approve or not. If they recommend that for approval, okay, then it goes to the state ETPL coordinator, and it sits there and recommended for approval status until the state coordinator gets that reviewed and cleared off. Okay. If it is not recommended for approval, like we talked about, then that LWIB will set the reason code and then it gets routed to the state. Okay, this track down here is the not recommended, but the state ETPL coordinator reviews it. So they review obviously the approved recommended ones and they also the not recommended. So now the state coordinator could look at this and say, I think we could approve this if we have some of these fixes, and they could do that same thing and request for fixes. In that case, once it's resubmitted, it comes back through here. Okay. Or they could they go over here, it doesn't need fixes. They could agree with the LWIB and the reasons. So if they disagree with and say mark it not approved, they agree with it, then it's not approved, it's done. And there is a message sent, of course, to the provider user that says this was not approved. If they don't recommend or they don't agree with the reasons or the recommendation, then it gets to here, which says, am I approving it or not? If they don't approve it, then the state marks their reason codes and then it gets emailed to them and we're done. But if they approve it, then at that time, of course, we email out that it's approved and we put I shouldn't say activated, I should say approved, but we approve that, but it's not going to be active until the day after the expiration of the current one. So we don't just switch over. We actually wait until the system knows not to use this one until we hit the start date, the effective date. Okay. There's a couple things I'll tell you about dates in a second. If it comes to the state on approved status or it comes directly to the state, those are like wrap and online and out of state, online only and out of state. Then the state's going to just review it. They could ask for fixes or not, and then they're going to approve it or they're not going to approve it. Okay. So that's the flow of how this works. Okay. There is we got some improvements coming for this, but there is we may be, there we go. There's going to be a eligible training plan program review.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know how much further you're going to go here. Back to that flow chart, just so we're clear. When they apply for continued, you said that it doesn't go active until the end of the current one, but it still shows as active, just so it's clear to everyone.
It shows that
it's not like once they apply, then it's in a holding status that affects participant enrollment. No, your current one continues to the end date. All you're saying is the new eligibility doesn't start until the end of the last one, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So just so it's still going to read active, it just isn't saying continued active until that date.
But you brought up a good point, Mark, and then and we might take this offline, but I kind of need to know how. Let me go back to that point. We're going to show those. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. So I think we might need a status that's basically awaiting, okay, because it's going to be approved. Okay. So let me show you this. You'll follow me real quick. Okay. So this is our active ones, right? Let's say that best HVAC training is one that I just renewed. And I submitted, so I hit the reapply, it comes here, I'm working it through, I hit the submit, we get through all the review process. So it's in here with all the different, it'll be in here with all the different statuses until it gets approved, right?
Right.
but it's not active yet. So we don't want to show it two of them on this list. Okay. We don't want to show two of the same program on that list. So I think it needs to sit here on this pending, but with a, like a, not a, like a status of, approved,
Well,
waiting
it,
for
it,
period or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
what's in the pending, I don't know how you're gonna show this. And again, maybe we don't want to take everyone else's time for this. Is you are going to show the continued eligibility application pending, but going back to the active listing, it still has to be there because it doesn't lose active status
It'll be there,
during
right?
this
Like,
review period. Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Let's just say we were right. Today's date was 9/10/26. Okay. Let's say today's date's 9/10/26, and we got our complete review process done, and the state has approved the continued program. It's an improved, but it's not active yet. You understand that? It's not active
Mm.
yet because this one is still active. So we will have to figure out, you and I can figure out, do we want to still show it on this approved and maybe approved pending act, activation or approve something? We may want something here that shows it. Okay, like this right here is an example of, right? Is an example of one here. It's the same, so to speak. If this,
Right.
it needs to probably stay here because it still is pending. This particular program is pending, and that copy of it is pending.
Yeah,
It
and I instead of saying the program is pending, the application is pending because the program is not.
right,
It's
right, right,
pending
right. The
based on the
application,
prior.
you're right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So
Yeah,
maybe that helps the clarification is to say the application is
yeah,
pending,
yeah,
but your program is not pending. It's actually active because it's
you're
still
right.
under either the initial
Yeah, this
or
program is
a
still here
continued
active,
eligibility that you're just asking to have another 2-year period added
right?
to.
And all I said,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and all I'm going here is we don't want to see that program.
Right. Right.
Okay,
Yep.
so
Okay. Yep.
okay, yeah, and we'll think of that status or whatever we're going to say there. Okay. Um, One other thing I wanted to show you was this board here is where that ETPL coordinator will go, either state or local. If local comes in here, we would be defaulting it to the association, whatever local that is, right? And we haven't identified these at all yet to be. We put O1 in there, but if I was in O1 and I was a local and I had uh, programs on here that I needed to review, this is where they would show up. I would come to here, this is where they would show up. Okay. Now we're going to there's some changes to this page. Okay. Because there's some information you're going to need. And we got those changes already up, and you'll see those in the next UAT. And those changes are the provider will also have a link if you need to go look at the provider from here. And then we added the end date or expiration, whatever you want to call that, the end date of that program. And then we actually, and we added the submit date. So, when they're submitted, you can sort by submitted and all that kind of stuff. So we added a couple things here, cleaned this up, we moved this around. So you'll see those changes in your next UAT. But this is the list that you'll be taken into, like if you get an email or a notification of some kind or a dashboard item that says, hey, there's some programs up for review, and you happen to be the role of the ETPL coordinator. Then when you hit that review, then that means you would have this item on your list. And when you hit that training plan review, you would come in and it would be already set to yours, and you would be able to go in and start reviewing those programs and either recommending them or not recommending them. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay. Now there's one more thing that I need to talk about here.
Hey, Al, can I ask you a question about that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, I am an ETPL coordinator for our area. So
Awesome.
as I'm looking at this, you said that the training provider is going to have their list of programs that shows up. But when the ETPL coordinator locally goes in and you've got it set to Lake County or what have you, all of the programs that happen to be hitting in that time frame are gonna list there. It's not gonna be by provider, correct?
Correct. It's gonna be all. So like,
Okay.
this is,
I mean, it just so happens on this page, there's only the one provider there, but I
yeah,
was just
sorry.
making.
Let me go back and clear that out. So let's just say all these were, so see, these are different providers. These are
Okay,
bad provider names, but it just, I'm saying they're different providers.
right.
So if these were all O1s, for example, then it would be, in fact, it looks like, yeah, no, it doesn't look like that either. This is just really bad data. Let me see here if I can find. And they're not going to be any NAs. They're all going to be associated.
Yeah, and the other one, if
I'm sorry, the only ones that would not be associated would be states, but there's no reason to have.
we probably should put something there. NA seems
Yeah,
odd.
we'll probably use something
I know
like
it's
that.
not an LWIA, but we could use 00 or something. But
Yeah.
from a local perspective, they'll want to keep an eye on that to make sure nothing shows up that's not in their not their LWIA.
That's a good point.
Make sure
Okay.
something didn't get slipped through. Like currently, that might happen because sometimes an LWIA say, "Well, I don't need this, so I'm going to not approve it." And another LWIA says, "Well, I really like it. I'm next door, and I got people that might be interested, so they can pick it up." So you would have an LWIA listed, maybe not in your area because you didn't approve it, but someone else did. But in the new system, you're only going to be approving things that come to you, and you can't not approve them because you don't like them.
Right.
Basically,
You either have to
it's
recommend
going to
or
be the
not recommend,
process.
but they're still going forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So that's the first catch is if an LWIA sees anything other than their LWIA number here, they're going to need to notify us and say, "Hey, what's going on here?"
That's right. Now you should be able to, I don't know who that was that was speaking to me. You should be able to also, of course, like sort by provider if you want to group those together and see them. Or sort by program, or or when you get that other date, you might want to sort by hold this submit date first, because you might want to say, I really need, just to be fair, I need to work these off in a FIFO type way, first in, first out.
Yeah, you might this screen, Crystal, especially. Would this screen, would you like to see the date here? I was surprised I didn't see a date in this.
No,
To know.
I got it, Mark. I got it in a ticket right now to add this. In
Oh,
fact,
okay, great.
I got some dates here to add, and then I've got a link here if you want to go look at the provider. So from this screen. So I got a few enhancements to the screen that'll come up soon. So, yep, I
Yeah,
already got
I
that.
don't really see the need to have I mean, the program type just seems like it's taking up space, I don't care about that.
And that's a good feedback, program type. You don't care about it.
I mean, because we just care about the provider being eligible, the program being eligible. It doesn't really matter when you're recertifying it what it is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you started that statement, Crystal.
Well,
During this period, you don't care, but when you have a list of programs
I don't
that
care.
for planners are looking at it, it makes a difference. But that's not
But
what
not
this
this,
is for.
but not this
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
And we can take that off the default columns.
It might make a difference at the state level, Al. I don't know. We can talk about that separately because we are going to get those apprenticeships and other types that we have to look at because of the apprenticeships. We have to look at them differently. That we
Yes.
want to know that, but since those don't go to the local area, then they're still reviewing them the exact same process for every type.
Yeah.
But again, for us at the state level, maybe we will leave that column there, or at
Yeah.
least
And
selectable.
we won't take it out of here. We will leave it available. So, but we got another date coming in here. That submit date is important when it got resubmitted, and I think
And
that
the end date of the prior eligibility or
the end
current
date of the
eligibility is
prior.
important. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you know when you have to complete your process.
Yep. I think that needs to come in there too. All right. Um, okay, I got another thing I wanted to bring up, and that is, it's so the the start date we got nailed. So this is reapply process, right? So the start date obviously should be the day after the ending date of the previous one. Now the end date is going to default to 2 years out, but for those LWIAs that want to potentially group these into sets, they can change that end date as long as it's equal to or less than the 2 years. Okay, so I just wanted you to know that you do have that you are gonna have that capability. So if you look at one of these, these dates here will be this date will for the reapply will not be editable, but this date here will be editable. But it will be maxed out at 2 years later, whatever. Okay. For the reapply. And the first one, the initial one has to be a year. So it's gonna default to a year, and that's gonna be a year. An initial one is going to be a year after. So the start date and the end date will be approval, and the end date will be 1 year later. Okay, but the reapply ones, the start date is going to be a day after this end date of the active one, and the end date is going to default to 2 years, but you could set that back if you want to line a bunch of them up at the same time. That's up to you folks. Rory, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was, and it's probably something you either already talked about because I had to join late. Sorry about that. Or something that you're going to get to further down the line. But Mark mentioned something that made me think of that is the reject capture process going to be incorporated in the new system? Meaning, if for some reason, it doesn't meet. If there's, like not a local need, sometimes there are reasons why an LWIA might reject, or if it's an initial submission, we might say, yeah, we don't need this program. There's not a local need for it. It's not a real high demand, or if it's a renewal and, an LWIA is not going to, doesn't need it for whatever reason. Puts the reject is the status, and then it goes into capture status, meaning another area could capture or snag it. If they have job seekers or potential participants that there's a high interest for that program, they may want to certify it. So is that a feature that's going to be? And you don't have to show me like exactly where if it's in here. I just didn't know if that just overall is that feature that.
Okay, a couple things here from an LWIA's perspective, right? From an LWIA's perspective, you're recommending or not recommending, right? On the initial and the reapplication process. So you're not the final say. Obviously, you're just recommending or not recommending. And if you get into this is at the state, but here, let me find one that's ready for local review. Hold on a minute. State. Pending state. I'm not sure why I don't have any pending state. Local pending. Hold on a minute. Oh, let me just see if I can get that status out here. Here we go. I don't have any. Okay, so if I had them, I would be able to show you. But I'm going to show you one of these here. Maybe I did have them. Hold on a minute. Maybe it was not on the right page. Okay, here. All right. So if I'm the local and I say, okay, I don't want to recommend this, okay, then I'm saying not recommend. And then I have the ability to say, why did I not recommend, right? There's 3 major reasons, and then they have some check boxes underneath. So that will tell the state when they look at it that you did not recommend and why you did not recommend. So it helps them a lot because you caught something that they don't have to dig for. Okay. Now, what you said, I believe, what you said is, and there might be one here somewhere.
It was in the Dropbox in the current or the current IWDS. It's not a local need.
Yeah,
But you know, I don't know if that's a reason that's going to be used a lot anymore. It's just once in a while we've done that where it's not
you
necessarily
could put
that it's
other
not
here.
on
You could,
the
you could put,
occupation
yeah, you could do it right
isn't
here.
on the DOTL at all. It's just that like in our specific area, there might not be a local need. You know, where it's not a target
But
industry or something. You know.
no, Rory, under the new procedures, though, local ETPLs will be acting on the behalf of the state. It is no longer a local decision in the sense of we don't really have a need for this program. You're acting on behalf of the state because it's a state ETPL, so you have to look at it from the view of the entire state. So those LWIB considerations, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever, won't be taken into consideration in making that decision.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like,
Yeah.
is that something that's kind of seemed like that was kind of being phased out, but I just wanted to.
Yep. So we wouldn't want to see that as the explanation. You know, what we might want to see is something locally that you're aware of that maybe we wouldn't be aware of, under investigation or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we would ultimately say, well, let's look at this. You might say, I don't think we should do this because they're under investigation for something. And I don't know if that's a checkbox at all. I'll probably not yet. And then we get it and we go, well, let's look at this and let's see what the level of it, we see what you're indicating that is, and maybe we agree with you, maybe we don't, you know, we'd have to figure that out. But
Yeah, like a rare occasion where,
most
like,
of those decisions are based on true eligibility criteria, not kind of actions by the provider or program. So
provider
so
says,
yeah, that and maybe we add something like that in there, Al. I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah,
jump
well,
to
I think you could
conclusion.
probably cover it with this, like, you know, the training provider is not eligible entity.
Well, I'm saying if they're under investigation, they're eligible now, then maybe they haven't come off the IBHE list. And that would be nice for the local area to say, hey, we know they've got problems. We've seen it locally, but IBHE or PV, whoever, some entity hasn't made a decision to go, well, we're not giving you eligible, you know, we're not calling you eligible anymore. So they can't use that as the basis. So this other would be their reason to say, I just don't think it's a great idea based on this. We at the state level would then just have to say, well, oh, great point. We agree with you. We're not going to approve it. Or unfortunately, under our current system, until if they have IBHE certification, we unfortunately have to approve them, pending, because the outcome of some publicly made statement may be false. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So I think there is a room to have that as a criteria for a local board, but it can't be based on local board decisions or policies anymore. That becomes a career planning thing.
Yeah, this would be more, and it's pretty rare, but something where, like, if they're accreditation, if they're IBHE approved, but they also have, it's like a healthcare school and they're through like the National Accreditation of Healthcare Education, something NCA, whatever. Like if they're in the middle of an audit or their accreditation has lapsed or something, it's very rare. But I think that might be is that what you're alluding to?
Well, that would fit. That would be where it would fit under the not an eligible entity, because they've lost that criteria.
Something that we want to just kind of make the state aware of, like, hey, when you're reviewing, we kind of saw this. What do you think? Got it. Okay.
Yep. Good comments, thoughts.
Yep. So, any other questions? I do want to get those of you back that are, and we can walk through in very much detail, because there's some areas of, one of the things we're struggling a little bit is information overload or not enough, right? So the gaps and overlaps in how much we notify people and how much data we send them.
Yeah, Al, Paul's got his hand up. I didn't know. I just noticed it, so I don't know how long he's had it up. But I want to.
Okay, go ahead, Paul. You on mute? I'm not sure. You're on mute still, Paul. I don't know if you wanted that up or not. Okay.
Sorry about that. I had it on mute.
There you go. There you go.
So this is piggybacking on what Rory was saying. So when a training program is coming towards its end of its certification period, and so the LWIA that owns that contract or whatnot, or state that's already been approved by the state, but for some reason it goes through the the approval process again, right? Because the LWIA is saying, hey, we want to recertify this or not. So if they're saying that they're not going to recertify this, right, for whatever reasons, and it goes to the state, and state says, yeah, we agree, so we're not going to certify this, are all the areas going to be able to see that? For instance, if it was like a local priority one, like on the dotto that's labeled as 1, you know, you can see it statewide, but it was a local priority that was approved, by the state because it was local priority in, Southern Illinois, right? And so then we would have to show, if we're going to use that it's a in demand, a priority in Northern Illinois, right? So are we going to be able to see that? And if the LWIA, let's say in Southern Illinois, says, hey, we don't want this recertified anymore, are we going to be able to see it in Northern Illinois and say, oh, but we need that still?
No, again, Paul, new policy will, and this will come up to some good technical assistance given to all the ETPL coordinators. There will not be that type of instance. You will be acting on behalf of the state. There is nothing that will allow you. This is DOL guidance to us, federal DOL guidance to us. There is no board decision that focuses on their needs in determining eligibility. That comes down to a career planner and participant discussion to say, here are all the programs on a big list. However, if you want to work in LWIA 3 or Rockford proper, let's go ahead and knock these programs that would not get you a job in our area down and not even consider them. And whatever criteria. So you can't make your decision of approval based on anything local in that sense once we implement this. Because we can't. And if you look at that Teagle, they show it like a big circle, and inside, and the big circle is the state ETPL, and the little circle inside it is the local ETPL. So you can limit it at that point. Once we put it out there, it's every program is available for every state, every LWIA. You can then say these would be reasons, and you have to show the entire list of the participants, because they may say, oh, wait, you're telling me I can't train for that job, but I'm okay. I would move to Springfield if I can get that really good job, and it's not available in Rockford. So I think, I'm not saying it happens in Illinois, but this is their rationale and the guidance, and DOL telling us is you got to give them every opportunity to understand every job that's available. And so that's why you show the state list, and then you start whittling it down based on their, what do you call those? Their not only needs, but suitability. It's to say, okay, well, if you don't want to travel 60 miles or more for a job, then we might as well not even consider programs that are training for jobs outside our area. Or if the only program you want is 100 miles away and you can't travel for that, then let's not consider that program, et cetera. So that's how that'll be handled, Paul, is you're looking at it. So there's really, while there's an owning LWIA because it comes to them, it's not going to be, well, I don't like it, so I'm going to deny it, and then another LWIA can pick it up. And we'll just have to monitor those as they come into us, or not monitor. So I don't want to use it in a forceful kind of way, but we'll be looking at those. And if we see we have an LWIA that seems to be turning down an awful lot of programs, and it seems to be based on the fact they don't need them, we'll just have to reach back out to them and update the technical assistance so they understand that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions on this? We are close to getting the requirements completed on this reapply process, and like I said, I would like to get this one session with Mark, Paula, whoever is from the state, and as many local ETPL coordinators as we can get together when we walk through that one more time, just so we can tweak it if there's anything that has to do with when and how people are notified or what the reasons are, and we can walk through and possibly just walk through is what I'd like to do, a resubmission, a complete resubmission process so we can all talk about it. So if there's no, I don't want to rush you off, but if there's no other questions, that's the only topic we had today. So you're going to get about 30 minutes back. Appreciate it. And I just wanted to make sure you knew this was coming and it was out there and we're working on it and we're getting pretty close. So any other questions?
Yeah, do you anticipate that the meeting with the ATPL coordinators about this is going to happen soon, or?
Yes, I would think within, if not, within next week or the next. Yeah, hopefully next week. But so you might want to tell, and it'll be on Thursday morning. So.
Hey, Al, I don't know if you saw it, but I just had a suggestion on that pending screen that you had.
Yeah.
Towards the beginning of the meeting. I just commented that you could probably just do a column that says approved to start on and then a specific date. So, because we were talking about, you have the active program that ends on a specific date, and then you have the new program that's going to start on the day after.
Right.
But then it would be here on the pending screen per se, but you don't know what, like how to define the status.
A good
But if
idea.
you had a column that, said approved, so it's still in pending, but it's an approved program that you guys have already approved, but it's starting on the day after the previous contract for
Yeah.
certification.
Good point. Yeah. But yeah, we definitely will get that ironed out, and I think that's a good idea too. Yeah. Yep. Now, we also in here this is kind of interesting, but data, but want to be able to, let you sort these two to see which ones you've completed or you've got out there and which ones you haven't. I just want to make sure that these will all be sortable too. So good idea though. Yeah.
Hey, Al, I was just curious, when you said that it's going to be like making
Hopefully
a
next-
copy of the program and then,
Yes.
whatever. I'm assuming it's still going to be a historical archive of everything that was there, like currently, IWDS.
Yes, right here, you'll always see your inactive programs, okay? Which are you going to see and then we have a log, it's not showing up yet here, but we have a log that shows all the historical context too. If that's
Well, I was just wondering because I'm concerned about if it's making a copy, like in IWDS currently, the program ID number is attached to a particular program record. And you can go in and you put it in pending recertification status, whatever it is. It's not copying it and making another record. You're changing it under that particular ID.
Mm-hmm.
So year to year, if it's not changing substantively, it's what you're saying is not that there's going to be multiple records of one individual, or is that what you're saying?
No, well, in the background, it will temporarily have multiples, but it's going to be the same program ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
It's like that program ID will stay with it. Yeah. Yep. So even if it's like 12 here, right there would be 12 here, like that. This is a good example, actually. Same, so it's basically looks like the same program. I mean, the copying is just wanted to make sure you knew you weren't editing the actual active program. That's why I want to make sure you understood that. So we're capturing, what we're basically doing is capturing all your edits or all the provider users edits, changes, And that's what's going to get approved. And this one on the active stays exactly with all the attributes it had originally, right? Because this program here, as we know, it could change some, but this program here is assigned, could potentially be assigned to, and people are actually in that program. Whereas this one here, if you have any kind of, edits, changes or whatever, then those will be captured there. Okay. So, but the same program ID. Yeah. I think that's what you were concerned in. Today, you're saying it. I think today you're submitting a form externally, right? Like it's really like a form you're filling out on the reapply process. Kind
No.
of attached to it. How you doing today?
You go into the program record on IWDS and you update your changes, whatever you need to do, and then you submit it for pending.
Okay, so what happens when I'm out in that 90-day period and I'm out there and I'm trying to assign the program, or I'm looking at the program was assigned to somebody? When I see that, when I follow that in, do I see that it looks like the new changes? Even though it's not approved, the new changes are not approved?
Like
That
from
make
a
sense?
career planner standpoint,
Yeah, from a career planner standpoint, if I click on that program
you'll
information,
come up and you'll see all the information there. It'll just be marked in the column as it looks like it's pending recertification, but the information is still there. Now, whether it's showing the changes or not, I don't know. I've never looked at it from that angle to see.
That's a good question. I've always assumed that that's a good question, Crystal. Yeah, I've always assumed that it does.
Yeah, that's what I
Because, but
thought.
then again, that's because when I go in, then I see, oh, it's College DuPage has this. That's right. They had to change the number of hours or something for
Yeah.
For this, or the cost of there's an additional computer lab fee or something, $25 or something.
Yeah,
So I'll go in and I'll see the change when I
Right.
go in there to pull the program up to then go ahead and set it back to approved. But then I'm thinking, oh yeah, I wonder when a career planner looks at this, are they seeing the changes? Their view different? I assumed it was. Is it, Mark?
I don't think the career, well, if they're in the actual record, they might see them. Yeah, that's a good question. But it's still going to be set to pending if it's one of those 6 mandatory piece of information that require a new currently certification determination. So at that point, it's kind of put on hold pending. They would see that, but I don't know if they see. I gotta believe they see the language change. I don't know that IWDS is I don't know what the word is, advanced enough to differentiate that we're not going to change this information until a coordinator or whomever has authority gets in here under pending and reviews and then hits save or approved or whatever it's called. I can't imagine IWDS is that advanced, but that's a good question.
Well,
I think you're right. I think the only difference is that when a career planner uses it, if they have, well, I think they're called case manager roles, the language,
Yeah.
but
exactly.
their user roles, they would see a static version of the page. Like there's not, they can't edit the text like we can, but yeah, I think
exactly.
I think they see the same information.
Yeah. It's like if you have the role to make the changes, you will see the changes. If you don't have the role to see the changes and you log in, you're going to see that it says it's pending, but you're going to see the original record. Like without the, or at least that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Or you can't, I don't know. Because I'm looking at one of the College pages right now, and of course I don't have authority to change theirs. And it says pending recertification, but I don't know unless I was talking directly to Rory. Am I looking at something that is old or is it the new version?
Yeah, that's always been an issue that we're trying to figure out. And I don't know if Al has a solution, but trying to figure out how we're going to identify when information has changed so people can see what that is. Because, if you're a program that is used, or I'm sorry, a local area that's used a program, we'll use one that's used regular 160 Driving Academy. Everybody uses 160 Driving, right? Enrolls quite a few people in them. So, as a career planner, you might get used to going, oh yeah, I know it's on the list. I know it's on the list. I know it's on the list. But at some point you ought to pull it up when you're showing it to the customer. Somehow you should be notified that, hey, something changed here, whatever that be. And you're not going to know that you're not going to remember all the details of a program unless you're told what might have changed. So somehow we're going to have to identify what changed, so that everyone involved in this process, down to the career planner, can identify that and see if maybe it doesn't even make a difference in conversation with participant, but maybe it does. So, I think we talked about that this week already.
Yeah, we did. I got that in my, yeah, Mark, I
how
got
you're
that in my
going to do
notes.
it.
Yep, I got that in my notes that we're going to, especially for the, obviously for everybody, but especially for the reviewer, we're going to mark the changes. We're going to show you the changes. I'm working with the tech team to say what the best angle is looking at those, but we're going to mark those changes that were made in the reapply process so that that's evident because.
Like somewhere on the screen would say like date created.
Yep, we're going to
saved,
have,
and then like
yeah, we're going to have an
last
indication.
modified and then the date
Yep.
and then last modified by or something like
Yeah,
that.
we're going to have an indication of what's been
Oh,
modified. And, yeah. And that way, and you say, well, what, yeah, but do I have to have the previous beside me? No, because you can go right over here after we told you that it's changed and we can see we can see the record of today. And then we're going to show you what's changed, which fields were changed on the new record here. Let's see this one right here. We'll show you those changes. I haven't got exactly what that visual is going to look like yet, but I'll get that worked out for you guys. And yep, we're going to be able to show that because that's important. Now, one of the things I thought was interesting what you said, though, just not to belabor this point, but that's if we didn't show those changes or those changes changed automatically after it was approved, even before it needed to be active, right? I don't know how that works today. That would be kind of strange because if I had assigned, I was in a training program and the hours changed, that's pretty interesting that you would see the new hours on it, even though I was under a program that was 120 and now it's 160.
Yeah, the 160 driving K is a perfect example. They're starting those programs all the time. It's not like a semester base that only starts on a 3
So I
times a
think,
year
yeah,
basis. But you could have people in a program that started April 1st and they change the information on June 1st. Now, why that person on April 1st, enrollment would be looking at the program description, maybe just to help a friend out, say, hey, go on there, let's go on there and I'll show you what the program says.
yeah,
Oh, wait, this says 160 hours or 180 hours now instead of 160. I mean, that's a bad example because they would change
right,
the
right, right.
but something like that, be like, well, wait a second, I only have to go through this for 160. And now the new criteria is 100. Yeah, it would seem odd, but information changes all the time, and they can't wait till a program's done, especially like when you're talking like a 2-year program where they're always reviewing it, might have to make some updates. It just kind of is what it is. Just have to be explained out if someone asks the
But I
question.
think that's just another argument, Mark, for saying that, copy or not copy, don't worry about how physically or technically it's done, but you're going to see this here, which is the active program today that goes through 6/25/26. And I'm going to go over here and show you, and these dates are probably wrong, but, and then the one that's in pending status, that's going to be probably 26, the day after. I don't know where that was. Okay. Well, that's a status date anyway, but so that's kind of important, right? So while this is getting reviewed and looked at and everything else, we still have not touched or changed the active program. Okay. And it won't change the active program really ever. Okay. It will change the active program when the changes are the day after the expiration of this change. If that's not the way it's supposed to work, then I'll need to know. But that's what we planned on, was 6/26 on 2026, the new program, and everything you see in it that's different is the one that's going to be active. And whatever the definition of this program that was approved is still the same definition all the way through 6/25. Hopefully that lines up with your thinking.
Well, I think it's worth pointing out that providers almost universally, if you are a student and you start under a certain program, you finish under the parameters of that program, even
Yeah,
if
you're
they
kind of
change it in the
grandfathered.
yeah, even if they change it in the middle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so it's always kind of worked the same way for, anybody that you're enrolling as a student, you can put them in under, XYZ nursing program on a given day. They're enrolling under that program that's approved for that purpose. They're allowed to finish it, even if that program was then removed from
Well,
the,
yeah.
I mean, they could keep going in it, because they were approved under that
Right.
program at that time. So
Another good example is an ONET code that one of two things. Either the provider has chosen to say, well, while we had these 6 ONET codes when we initially asked for eligibility, one or more of them no longer apply because we've changed the program enough, but the person that's in it doesn't affect them. But more likely is, we update the total demand occupation list and an ONET drops off and someone comes in and says, hey, I'd like to train. I got a buddy that's in this program. I'd like to train for that job. And a career planner has to tell them, sorry, I understand your buddy's in it, but that job is no longer considered in demand, so you can't do that. I mean, that's just discussions career planners have to be prepared for.
Yeah. Good discussion. We're close. We're not done, but we're close. And
Kelly's getting too much information for TA.
thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the feedback. We'll be reaching out. I'll have Kelly reach out if we can get that scheduled next week, which would be great. If I don't, it might be part of this time, or I'll have to see if I get the local slot.
Is it at all possible, and I hate to delay too much, maybe if 2 weeks is okay to give them more time to fit it in a schedule, but if that's too much delay, then just go ahead and do it next week and you get who you can get.
Well, yeah, we can see how we'll put a feeler out to see who we can get on that next week. If we can't, then we'll push it on another week.
Yeah, I don't want to unduly delay you, but I know how people's schedules are.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Are you talking about for UAT testing next or something? Or?
No. For just walking through this with the coordinators, making sure we have as many coordinators on the call as we have. Okay?
Yeah, you and Crystal, and man, there might be a couple more on the call today that are ETPL coordinators. That's not the case with this group. Typically, they're not ETPL coordinators, so we just want to get their input and see this as well.
Well, I was, and thank you. I'm sorry to extend it, the meeting time here. I was going to ask just in general about next week's meeting if a lot of members of the group are going to be at the apprenticeship boot camp in Moraine Valley Community College. So, because I was going to say I won't be able to attend the meeting next week because that's Wednesday and Thursday next week. So I was wondering if, like, just in general, our weekly meeting, if there were a lot of people in the group. Probably not, but I just didn't know if there were members of our group here that might be at that boot camp, and as such, if you were going to be still having the meeting next week, just in general. But whatever the consensus is, the majority, if they can make it, that means I don't know on me. I'm just saying I won't be able to make it.
So you're saying that camp has some other OWIAs attending it?
I mean, I don't know. It's maybe not a lot. I'm not sure because it's for the. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe all OWIAs are invited to attend, but I know it was specifically for the ones that got the state, the apprenticeship expansion grant incentives.
Okay.
So that's the main.
Well, that may be a reason to try to hold off for 2 weeks out, because maybe you do have some of these ETPL coordinators wanting to participate in the apprenticeship at the same time.
Or you could send it.
Okay. All right.
I mean, send it out and see if you're going to send like a doodle poll or something and see what feedback is. And if you think you've got enough people to invite them next week, then, I mean, you also want to respect your calendar to try and make sure we keep moving forward.
All righty. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. As always.
Thank you all.
Great feedback, guys. Thanks a lot.